25.
Well, the two Dutch masters going head-to-head here. Michael van Gerwen, Raymond van Barneveld, a game we've seen so many times before on some of the biggest stages in the world of darts.
Bullseye.
Are any as impressive as the Robin Park Tennis Centre in Wigan, I ask?
25.
The answer is yes. Yes, they are. Far more impressive in many cases, but never mind. It is still a significant day. It was, of course, the third Players' Championship event of last year, where Raymond van Barneveld completed his fairy tale comeback and managed to win the title. Just 3 events into his return as a PDC darts player. Can he go and repeat the trick here and set himself up? Because that money will be coming off his ranking, and so he's probably set to drop out of the seedings entirely. I would think he's only seeded 25 here today. Mark Webster, another former world champion, is alongside me for this one.
Yeah, throwing up these two guys for, what, the umpteenth time, and
100.
they had some battles. They had a good battle at Minehead the back end of the year, didn't they? Second round action. Bit of a, like I said earlier on, a bit of a Dutch cluster that Raymond
100.
beat Mike Ivanhoven, Michael beat Kevin Deutz, and then Michael got rid of Raymond Barneveld. But like you said, Raymond Barneveld's win last year, defeat Joe Cullen in the final. Look, you win early in the year, you've pretty much ticked the World Championship and the Players' Championship finals off, and he got in the Grand Slam as well. So it was a satisfactory year for Raymond, but he wants to be back in the mix of Blackpool, the Grand Prix, the European Championship finals. And look, he's going to have to start beating players like Michael van Gerwen in these stage of events.
40.
Yeah, I did speak to Ray at the back end of the year, and I think he sort of blamed me a bit. Like, after winning the title last year, and I said, well, Ray, 10 grand now, I mean, you can start thinking
59.
Maybe even the match play is a possibility. It's always difficult to get to the match play in your first year, but it's doable. People have done it. Oh, you didn't want that at that point.
80.
And he wasn't far off the Grand Prix, but if you just keep missing him, you've got to start all over again. Remember, it's a year cycle, so the run for Blackpool, but that's a good start. The run for Blackpool starts the day after Blackpool, and with all the events, the European Championship one is based on the European Tour. If you've got a tour card, you're in the UK Open, and that is just around the corner as
96.
well. So a busy period for the world of darts at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, if you win one of these early and don't get to the World Grand Prix, you'd consider that a disappointment. The match play is always difficult, isn't it, in your first year? But the Grand Prix, you think there's enough there, and if I've won one, I probably should be doing enough to get there.
Yeah, you're probably, what do you reckon, Dan, 5 tournaments behind, a couple of 4 Pro Tours and a European Tour in normally, but obviously in a different circumstance. But like you said, yeah, you get that prize, which was 10 grand at the time. You want to kick on. Blackpool, like I said, came too soon, but he should have made the Grand Prix.
58.
Made up for it, got in the Grand Slam. Couldn't get out of his group, but he was lucky to qualify, to be fair. Brendan Dolan missing match darts, but
100.
a positive end to the year for Raymond van Barneveld.
Well, can MVG hit back? He won't hit back with a 170. And in
44.
fact, that doesn't really help him, because a couple of big trebles from Raymond van Barneveld here, and Van Gerwen is not in an enviable position in this leg.
Oh. Look, he should get 3 now,
108.
yeah, and a chance to break if Michael doesn't convert the 126. That's a good guide. No, so Raymond van Barneveld's come up the blocks well
86.
here to double his lead.
.32.
There's no real guide for that double 16, that second dart. I know it's well out of the way, but sometimes players will use that as a bit of a help.
Game shot.
Well, they were good guides, well, particularly the second one, and Michael van Gerwen levels the match. Chance missed for Raymond van Barneveld, because Michael van Gerwen, there's signs of him returning to form. Look, we're not going to give the false storm. We've said it many a time that he's back, but it was better on Thursday. It's been okay here so far.
Yeah, his top level, or maybe not his top level. We're not seeing him posting 113 averages on a regular basis, but we're seeing him do things like he's done today, averaging 106 or whatever, and you think, look, that's enough to win titles. But there are a lot more 93 and 94 averages for Michael van Gerwen nowadays, and that means he's vulnerable, and it means that his bad game is beatable by a lot more players playing, and he's not doesn't have that aura of invincibility around himself.
No, definitely. I mean,
60.
Stephen Burton beat him with an 89 average last week. That was unthinkable a few years back, wasn't it, when he was at his dominant best? But the chances arise, and like you said, Dan, he's averaging in the low 90s. You can be in the high 80s and play clever and beat Michael van Gerwen when he's on that sort of form.
And you always feel there's a game like that coming at some point, whether it's in the tournament or in a night. And that means he is vulnerable. He is still a very, very elite player, one of the very, very best. If he was a brand new player who just turned up and he was playing like he has done for the last year or so, you think, this guy's going to win all sorts of things.
Yeah, and Thursday night was, in the Premier League. Look, he won his first game against Peter Wright, slow start, but grew in confidence. And then what Johnny did is what you had to do to beat Michael van Gerwen a few years ago. He was unbelievable from 4-1. So Michael could leave there thinking, look, I didn't do a great deal wrong. But got to give him his credit. He doesn't shy away. He keeps turning up at these Pro Tours. There's a lot of players who become a bit disjointed with the Pro Tours, but
95.
Barneveld has a chance again. He's had a dart in leg 2, a dart in leg 3, but he could find himself trailing here. He is trailing. Michael van Gerwen clinical, and that's the first break.
Well, MVG goes into the lead.
'93. '60.
MVG on a bit of a winning run against Raymond van Barneveld. He's won the last 5 dating back to early 2019. Last time Barney won a game was the World Series of Darts quarter-finals. Won that 10-8. I think that was the year that James Wade defied Michael Smith, survived some match darts in the final. Could have been Michael Smith finally getting that big TV title.
177.
Michael van Gerwen is starting to go through the gears here. Just a quick mention for Joe Mernon. Joe Mernon 3-0 up,
45. Averaging
107. And look, if that doesn't epitomise, you've got to stay patient with this sport, because it's not been all rosy for Joe Mernon. Won a Pro Tour in 2015, left the circuit, and he's playing the best starts of his career. And Michael van Gerwen is playing pretty well himself. That's 3-1, but credit to Joe Mernon.
It was about this time last year. Joe Mernon started last year playing absolutely brilliant stuff as well and just wasn't getting any victories. He was always up in the sort of high 90s or low tons averages.
58.
But it's good to see. And you're right, you don't know when players are going to hit their peak. We don't know that maybe Michael van Gerwen has hit his peak and will never hit those heights again. There's a real possibility of that.
Well, look, he's going to do well to dominate like he did, because the field is unbelievable now. But that's like that. I'm not going to do any harm. But I mean, I've had a look at Damon Heta today, and he is finding a real consistent level of play now.
65.
And he's a perfect example of, you come over, get your tour card, do well the first year, do slightly better, then he's picking it up now, and I'm expecting big things from Damo 51. This year, but he's just one of many players. There's a lot stronger fields now, and it will be hard for anyone to dominate.
He loves this finish, but he's not going to take it out, Raymond van Barneveld. He is going to leave himself very handily placed, though, and you would fancy that the 5-time world champion is going to cut the gap to just 1 leg.
58.
And Michael van Gerwen has already been warned just, 2 days ago, going into the lead in a 1st-to-6 match is no guarantee of getting over the line, no matter how well you're playing.
Yeah, big different animal, the ferret, isn't he? He probably didn't even know he was 4-1 down.
140.
I mentioned the ferret. He's back in his room. He lost first round today, and that's back-to-back first round defeats on the Pro Tour.
Yeah, and when you think he was dominating 12 months ago, it's him and Cullen who were just finding himself in the final every day in the first Super Series, and that was held in Bolton.
96.
And when you've had a taste of what Johnny Clayton's had, no disrespect to the environment we're playing here, Dan, it must be a bit of a come down, mustn't it? He's won majors and
85.
Still trying to come and perform here, but he's got to find a way, because these are the bread and butter. Johnny Clayton, everybody thinks because he's won majors, he'll be
44.
okay with losing first round. He'll be fuming, trust me. You want to put it right tomorrow.
Well, were you a bit like that, Webby? I mean, you had a lot of success on stage, whether obviously the world title, but you went deep in major tournaments, and I mean, it's only one ranking title in the PDC you had to your name, isn't it?
Do you know what, Dan? I was one of those players who fell foul of being relatively satisfied on us in the last 16 and quarterfinals, and maybe just didn't kick on. You can't be like that. If you want to be a winner, you've got to want to win all the time. And then, obviously, towards the end, I couldn't win anything. But you were, you get to a point where, say you've highlighted Michael Van Gerwen in your section of the ball, get to him and see what 96. I can do. You've got to try and beat these players. Johnny's had that attitude and he needs to get it back on the floor. Look, his game in the Premier League is fantastic, but you've got to address it here.
Double 10.
Game.
Oh, superb from MVG. The 1-2-8 checkout goes with Raymond van Barneveld looking to level the match. The nod of the head from Barney there. He appreciates how good that was.
58.
And how this game's changed on the second leg of the match for me. The 64, Raymond van Barneveld could have been 2-0 up. And Michael Van Gerwen admitted to me the other night, the first two legs in Peter Wright were 19 and 17 darts. He is nervous at the beginning of matches, but you give him something to work with and you're going to find it hard to keep up with him. And once he settles, we've seen what he can do.
Well, this is the thing with MVG. For his years of dominance, as he pops in another 177, he always felt nobody's ever safe. Doesn't matter if he goes 6-0 down. He's going to hit form at some point. Now, if he starts poorly, you're worried that he won't, and he's worried that he won't, because it happens. It happens a lot more regularly, and we've seen him get absolute hidings on occasion.
Hey, and look, we forget he's a human being. He does suffer with confidence crisis and nerves. He still gets nervous. But yeah, like you said, there's a drop in level of players and their consistency, but you made the good point, Dan. He's still one of the world's best players when he turns it on. It just doesn't happen often enough now. But signs that, look, he's finding a way to balance it. He's not going to get to that dominant self again just because of the level of
game shot,
the level of the rest of the field, and he's being pushed in games like this as Raymond van Barneveld gets back within one. I think players not as scared of playing Michael Van Gerwen, and that's why, because he has averages like that a bit too often now. 94, 95, still respectable, but not what you associate with Michael Van Gerwen.
Yeah, and this is the thing,
100.
As I said earlier, if he was a brand new player doing what he is doing, you would think this guy has got such talent that big things are coming his way. But it weirdly works against him that he's won everything a billion times, because you hold him to different standards. Michael Van Gerwen could win the match play, the Worlds, the Grand Prix, the Slam, everything this year. The game is there, but he is vulnerable. And that means that if he doesn't go and pick up one or two of those titles,
171.
He's perhaps not performing to the level you expect of him.
No, but that's the level he expects from himself as well, isn't it? Michael Van Gerwen is judged on winning titles, and that's how he judges himself. That's how his sponsors, management judge him. That's how we all judge him, and that's the way it'll remain. But he keeps turning out week in, week out. Some players might have shied away from the Pro Tours, but he still comes and plays, and still got that hunger to win, and looking to restore the two-leg buffer. But Raymond van Barneveld in with a shot here.
Well, the 1-2-8 looked pretty crucial when he took it out 2 legs ago. This might be even more so. Can he do it again? Oh, changes his route, double 16. Oh, very nearly.
Unlucky, but that was decisive. Look, he didn't like the angle of the treble 18. Barneveld, has he ever hit this 96 against Michael Van Gerwen in a game before?
Ooh.
56.
He hit that 96 in that famous match in the World. He broke into a little jog.
Game shot.
But he didn't on that occasion. And Michael Van Gerwen back in front, 5 legs to 3.
Well, the winner of this will face Neil Zonneveld, who's taken out Dave Chisnell. This is a quarter of the draw with Steve West, James Wade, Neil Zonneveld, and one of these two. So one of those guys is going to reach the semi-finals. Alan Suter and Damon Hetter is a confirmed last 16 match.
James Wade finding a run when he needed one, really. Not a good night on Thursday, and he bowed out on both the European Tour qualifiers last night. So to have a good run here, and credit to him. I mentioned earlier, 3-0 down to Jim Williams in one of those games, found a way to dig himself out of a hole and You fancy
100.
himself in the next round?
Well, Michael van Gerwen is closing in on victory. Another in there.
140.
Well, it does mean that he's going to get at least 3 darts from 1, 2, 4, and you'd fancy he's going to get 6.
Well, he's going to have 6 now.
80.
So just lay up the shot. Treble 20 first, it'll be over to the 16s and the 8s. Double 8 to finish the job.
Game
And that's pretty impressive from Michael van Gerwen. There was a little wobble at the start where Raymond Barneveld had a chance.